Hello YouTube. In some of my videos I have been telling you about the indigenous people of the Russian North, their customs, beliefs, legends, and lifestyles. So I'll tell you something else today about them. The concept of populaces of the North, like the concept of North, is somewhat arbitrary, and both of them are more legal. Thus, the official list of the indigenous small-numbered populaces of the north of Russia includes 40 names. People who are far from ethnography often believe that all representatives of these populations look the same, wear clothes made of skins, graze deer, and live in a tomb. In fact, these populations, ethnicities, differ greatly from each other in languages, economic structure, material and spiritual culture. They also have one thing in common. Representatives of the populaces of the North who lead a traditional way of life and have mastered the Arctic islands, tundra, forest tundra, and taiga have largely lived, and in some cases still live, at the expense of the resources provided by their habitat. These resources should provide for all human needs: clothing, housing, transport, fuel, and of course food. Food in different cases can be provided by reindeer husbandry or other forms of cattle breeding, hunting for marine animals, birds, wild hoofed mammals, fishing, collecting bird eggs, shellfish, algae, and wild plants. The most shocking dish of the people of the North, I will tell you about this. Why do they drink deer blood? The people that we know as the Nenets, Hanti, Evenks, Chukchi, Koryaks, as well as representatives of some other people of Siberia and the Far East who drink blood of the deer. Moreover, it should be still warm. Therefore, whole families often gather around the carcass of a freshly slaughtered animal to have a meal together. Why are they doing this? Needless to say about how difficult human existence is in the far north. In addition to 50-degree frosts, the polar night, and the lack of benefits of civilization, reindeer herders are deficient in essential trace elements for their health, especially vitamins C and A, as well as iron, the lack of which can cause anemia in humans. The deer's diet in winter consists mainly of yagel moss, and in summer these animals feed on grasses, berries, and rare shrubs. The vitamins and minerals that the tundra provides enter the deer's body and saturate their blood, and for a long time, for representatives of the northern populations, almost the only way to get the microelements necessary for health to withstand the polar night was to use deer blood. This is how a national tradition, unusual for Europeans, developed. As a result of numerous studies, scientists have found that a person who eats this product increases the level of hemoglobin in the blood, more oxygen begins to flow into muscles and tissues, and this in turn increases human performance and endurance. In the harsh conditions of the Arctic, deer blood increases people's chances of survival. Traditional medicine is no secret that the absence of essential vitamins and trace elements in the human diet can lead to development of numerous diseases. These include metabolic disorders, anemia, hypertension, asthma, osteochondritis, and cardiovascular dystonia. For centuries, the inhabitants of the far north had to make do with folk remedies. One of them was deer blood, which has a restorative effect, promoting rapid healing of various wounds and recovery from injuries. Interestingly, reindeer herders in the far north did not always slaughter a deer to treat a sick person. Sometimes they would just make an incision in the animal's neck and draw the necessary amount of blood into a vessel. Then the animal's wound was covered with clay, and the human recovered and the deer remained alive. Impotence was another of the ailments that the inhabitants of the tundra treated with the help of a similar traditional medicine. Northerners have noticed that eating blood naturally increases people's sexual activity, relieving them of various pelvic problems. So, the jokes about the loving nature of the inhabitants of the Arctic may not have arisen out of thin air. Representatives of the northern populations drink not only deer blood. Other animals also serve as a source of nourishing and life-giving liquid for them. Previously, successful hunting was a prerequisite for the survival of these people. No family could do without walrus fat on a long polar night, for example, which was used not only for food but also for many household needs. Sometimes all the men of the village went to prey on the sea, as well as fur-bearing animals. Hunters, they hunted down their prey, often spending a lot of effort and time, and they needed to somehow replenish the energy costs of the body in the coldness. In the northern freezing cold, after the hunt was over, people slit the animal's throat and drank the still warm blood to keep warm and safe. But what about hygiene? Some people ask. The fact is that one of the main features of this product is its relative purity. Parasites can live in the organs and tissues of animals, but their blood is usually safe in this regard. Therefore, it can be drunk raw. Well, what about the far north without shamans? They not only allowed reindeer herders to eat like this, but also strongly recommended a similar diet. According to the beliefs of pagan cults, the soul of any living being is in his blood. Thus, a person drinking the blood of a beast symbolically takes away its power. In other words, the blood of a bear will help you become powerful, and the blood of a wolf will help you become brave. If you want to be cunning, kill the fox, and if you want to be aggressive, kill the wolverine. These ideas have their roots in the most ancient totemism and animism, when people had not yet separated themselves from nature. It is likely that the perception of blood as a source of vitality led to the emergence of vampirism. After all, some criminals believing in the immortality that this red liquid supposedly can bestow on a person could actually kill people for the sake of prolonging their own lives. What did you say? High-tech moguls using blood transfusions of the young people in the 21st century? That's not in my video today. Anyway, to make up for the lack of vitamins, which are very scarce in the tundra, and to increase hemoglobin, the Nenets, it's one of the ethnicities of the north, and I'll use them a lot as the example. But others also do it. Anyway, the Nenets have long been drinking fresh blood from young deer, explained Vera Horoteto, a doctor from the town of Salihard in Russia. They talk to the animal for a long time. They calm it down. They kindly explain that it's time for it to join the heavenly flock, and people need its body. It is believed that the blood of a deer that is very scared has beneficial properties to a much lesser extent. Everything is used. Fresh liver and meat are cut into pieces, put into blood for 10 minutes. Such a liver, according to the Nenets, helps even cancer patients. Those who have been eating this dish since childhood rarely get cancer. The blood is stored for future use, stored in pouches from the peritoneum of a deer. Sometimes the blood is salted and meat or fish is dipped into it. In other words, they use instead of a sauce. Another reason why residents of the far north have been eating warm deer blood since ancient times is the pragmatic desire to save firewood and other fuels. Making a fire and maintaining it for a long time requires a considerable amount of wood, and it is not possible to stock up on it for the entire period of the polar night. Warm blood quickly satisfies hunger and provides energy, and people do not have to spend a lot of firewood. Therefore, the Nenets, Hunts, Evenks, Chukchi, Koryaks, and other northern populations do not make black sausage, one of the favorite dishes, no, blood sausage, one of the favorite dishes of some European countries. In addition, the cooled blood loses many of its beneficial properties. Eating raw deer meat and blood, which is so shocking to a modern urban dweller, is not only a long-standing custom of the residents or populations of the northwestern Siberia, but also the prevention of scurvy. The cause of scurvy is lack of vitamin C, and there are few other sources of vitamin C available in the tundra all year round, except meat and blood. Therefore, for example, the first Russian explorers, I would call them Russian conquistadors, who occupied the lands east of the Urals, not only wore local clothes and used local transport, but also began to eat the same food as the locals. So they're not like the Spanish ones. But we're not going to get into this history. Local populations have a lot of complaints about Russian expansion, but we'll leave it alone. Scientists conducted a study on the assimilation of mushrooms among the indigenous people of the north. It turned out that the northerners may have health problems after eating mushrooms. You see, mushrooms contain trehalose, a natural carbohydrate that is not absorbed by the body of people with certain genotypes. A team of scientists has found out how geographically distributed among the population of Siberia and the Russian Far East are the frequencies of the genotypes responsible for the production of the trehalose. Many northern populations traditionally did not eat mushrooms, considering them to be deer food. The word ngaibat, meaning raw deer meat, is nenets, but this dish is also known to other nomadic reindeer herders of the tundra, the Hunts, or Hanti, the Ants, and the Komi. It is customary to eat ngaibat like this. Pieces of meat or organs of a deer are taken by hand, dipped into blood, bitten with teeth, and cut off with a knife from the bottom up. You can also drink blood by scooping it with a mug. The most delicious, according to the indigenous people, are liver, kidneys, pancreas, windpipe, tongue, lower lip, and bone marrow from the deer legs. In a deer, they do not eat the eyes. The raw heart, no, it is boiled. The tip of the tongue, they give it to the fire as a sacrifice. After Ngai Bat, they drink hot tea. The remaining blood is drained into the previously cleaned stomach of the deer. You can also slice deer meat or fish there. After a few days, when the blood is fermented and this dish is served on the table, pieces of meat are laid out from the stomach. The blood is used as a sauce. They eat it with their hands and a knife, just like Ngai Bat. All Nenets people use protein diet. Their body can absorb a huge amount of protein. A European would already have a kidney failure. The traditional food items of the Nenets are fresh blood and raw meat. This food is fully adapted to vitamin deficiency conditions. I will underscore it. Nenets people wear malizi, clothes made from animal skins that are worn on their naked bodies. Unlike European clothing, the shirt does not adhere to the body, which not only retains heat, but also provides heat exchange. Therefore, when the Nenets began to have underwear, they got a surge in lung diseases. Because of this, the entire heating technology was disrupted. The traditional dwelling of the Nenets is chum. It is a mobile structure based on poles and covered with reindeer skins. Their main advantage is the speed of transportation, but they also have excellent thermal insulation. The heat from the hearth goes up and it kind of clogs the chum. Also, such a building protects from the wild winds typical of the Arctic. The wind ricochets from the inclined chums and goes up the slope. Culturally and socially, there is a penetration of Russian culture, but it is necessary to divide the Nenets into tundra reindeer herders and settlement herders. If we talk, for example, about summer clothes, then there are Central European types, rubber boots, tarpaulin jackets. But this does not apply to winter clothing. It is not functional in the tundra conditions. All the Nenets have laptops and phones. And regular helicopters are the main mode of transportation nowadays. Many new things continue to play old roles. The titanium lining of the fallen rocket stages is used as a furnace tray, and nylon nets washed ashore are used as harness elements. Innovations do not have a deforming effect. The forms of social organization are also adopted. Traditionally, the main unit was a camp, 3 to 4 chums for 15 to 20 people. Together, they own 3,000 to 4,000 deer, and this is optimal for movement. Now, the Nenets perceive the world a little bit differently from Europeans, let's say. There are agricultural people among them. Their dwelling is square, and there are nomadic people. They have a round one. We understand space concentrically, the house and the territory around, and the Nenets, they understand it in vectors. They have a corridor of nomadism, nomadic lifestyle, which is also marked. Each group has its own special places, stories, folklore, everything that makes this land their land. We cannot say that the Nenets culture is disappearing despite any transformations. The Nenets, they do not dissolve or assimilate. The reason for this is that Russian culture has no mechanisms related to nomadic reindeer husbandry, and the set of features, mechanisms, and techniques of the Nenets culture creates an insurmountable barrier to assimilation. Recent studies confirm that the tundra population is much healthier than the urban population. Under normal condition, it just doesn't hurt. These people start getting sick when they come to the city. And, for example, in Russia, on the Reindeer Herders' Day, for example, that's where the source of civilization cling to them. And in the tundra, they have burns, appendicitis sometimes. But in other words, Northerners live the way the harsh northern nature tells them to. So when you look at the photos in this video, maybe you should look at them differently and not judge them by your lifestyles. Residents of the North practically do not know about the diseases common in the middle latitudes. Scientists have studied the composition of their food and concluded that their blood helps them stay healthy. Deer blood, that's what I should say. Having considered the situation from this perspective, the researchers tried to create a drug that could have a similar effect. This is how a whole series of various medicines based on deer blood appeared. I don't want to go too much into this. I'm not here to advertise such products, but I just wanted to mention it. But scientists conducted an experiment in which two people ate differently under the same conditions. One of them ate the food we are used to, and the other one had fresh deer blood added to his diet. Before starting the experiment, the researchers recorded the IQ level of each of them, as well as their physical parameters. After a while, they were compared. It turned out that under the same loads, the changes in the work of their organisms vary significantly. A person who had blood added to his diet had much higher rates than someone who ate regular food. The ethnicities of the North live in conditions that are radically different from those to which we are accustomed. The northern summer day and winter night have left their mark on everything. And in other respects, nature does not pamper the inhabitants of those latitudes. The northern regions are inhabited by ethnicities, the number of people of which is very small. Each of them has its own ancient language. That's just how civilization came to them. In other words, young people often began to leave these places, so the original languages began to be forgotten. Most of them are actually only spoken by old people. Russian is more popular among young people because they get jobs in the modern world, mainly in Russian cities. Residents of the far north engage in fishing and hunting. These are their main activities and food sources. There is no way to grow grain and vegetables there, so you have to be content with monotonous food. In the summer, nature blooms and all plants strive to produce offspring as quickly as possible. Meadows and marshes are strewn with berries, which people are happy to pick. It is only during this period that northerners enjoy themselves with fresh berries, making up for the lack of vitamins in the body. Cloudberries, blueberries, watermelon, and other berries are harvested for the winter in all available ways. But it's too little. Very long winters simply deplete the body because during this period, there's no way to replenish the supply of vitamins and minerals available on summer days. Having studied this issue from all sides, several conclusions can be drawn. And the first thing that comes to mind of a resident of a civilized society in which everything is subordinated to calculation is that the northerners learned about the valuable medicinal properties of blood before others. But this hypothesis can be dismissed immediately. First of all, most of them are practically not familiar with the data transmitted to us by scientists. Secondly, these people are interested in other issues related to their living conditions and the possibilities of meeting their simple needs. The main reasons for the way of life of these ethnicities which they lead can be considered: the ability of fresh blood to quickly satisfy hunger, fast digestibility of liquid food that does not need to be boiled, availability, the ability to use blood instead of seasonings, which are practically absent in this area, the ability of blood to quickly and practically supply the body with energy, which is essential for warming the body. And yet, not every inhabitant of the northern latitudes will be able to clearly sort out this information. Perhaps one of the oldest residents of the village will analyze this issue with you, but it is not likely. Most likely, the shaman of the village will tell you about the soul of an animal trapped in blood, that people fill themselves with it, taking away the power that this creature possessed before. Well, according to many legends, spread not only in the north, but also among other peoples of the world, the essence of the slain creature remains in the blood. By eating his heart and drinking his blood, the heroes, according to the same legends, gained incredible powers. Some of the ethnicities went further, eating the heart of the defeated enemy. In fact, everything is much simpler. Old people, when talking about this custom, often say something like this: a person who doesn't eat blood will become completely weak. He will become very pale, he will have little strength, and he will also think for a long time and completely lose his manhood. And they're right about a lot of things. Blood nutrition helps the body to increase the production of all substances necessary for the body. Men in cities, in order to keep warm and disperse the blood, use a less harmless but more affordable drink for this. We're talking about alcohol. But, in the north, when the people eat dish called straganina with blood, they do not become alcoholics, unlike those who live in the city. Another reason is the opportunity to save money. It is not so easy to collect firewood in the northern latitudes, as I said before. So the people who live there try to spend them as little as possible. This leads to the fact that the diet has been diversified with dishes that do not require cooking. Of course, the northerners could roast blood or cook the blood sausages, but all these actions involve building a campfire and maintaining it for a long time. This option is not suitable for residents of the far north. By killing an animal and drinking its blood, villagers satisfy hunger and they replenish energy costs no worse than the Europeans do when eating a complex meal. Deer blood is consumed not only after it is killed. If there is a need, there are few products left in stock, or there are health problems with one of the villages, the reindeer herders milk the deer blood. It is not difficult to do this. It is enough to cut a vessel on the animal's neck and collect up to half a liter of fresh blood. Then the incision is covered with clay or plastered over. Such an amount of blood can be replenished for an animal in just 10 days, and adequate nutrition for residents will always be guaranteed. Another reason is the quality of the meat. A freshly killed animal that steams retains its tenderness. The meat of a freshly killed deer is very tasty, and the blood is used as a seasoning, according to people who tried it. One has only to hesitate, letting the meat cool down, and it loses its tenderness, and its taste becomes different. Meat from other animals in its raw form is not suitable for food, as it can be full of worms. Because of this, hunters do not eat it, but bring it to the family by drinking the blood. Despite its infestation, the animal always has parasite-free blood, which was the main reason for such nutrition along the way. These are the reasons that stimulate the consumption of the blood by northerners. You can also add that blood for them plays the role of sauce for many dishes. I told you already about this. So that's what I wanted to bring to your attention today. And of course, we don't live in the freezing north, and there's no way we're going to judge these people. They're happy in the lives they lead. Not many of us could live that way, but they survive and have for centuries. I will bring you more stories about the various ethnicities of the North and their beliefs. There's much to say, and I have told you before. And of course, in my paranormal research, I keep going back to them to confirm some of the interesting hypotheses that we come up with. That's what I wanted to let you know today. And if you like my research, you can support me through the links you'll find in the description to this channel and to this video, and you can subscribe to my channel and tell others about my work. Thank you.